Your best project this quarter could be losing you money right now. You won't see it until the end of the month, by which time the margin's already gone. Today I'm going to show you how to catch it while the project is still running. I'm Mike Hiley, and I've spent almost 30 years in professional services, including 14 years at WPP, one of the biggest advertising groups in the world. I've watched margin disappear on projects that look fine on paper, and work in progress, or WIP, consistently showed the first warning signs when things went wrong. WIP isn't just a number on your balance sheet. It's a record of everything that's happening on your project. It's every hour your team logs, capacity you've used, and costs you've incurred and revenue you haven't billed yet. Follow the chain. Your team will log hours. Those hours become WIP. WIP turns into billing, and billing turns into cash. When something breaks, that's when your margin starts leaking. So watch for WIP growing faster than your project schedule. Watch for WIP that ages instead of being invoiced. Watch for hours running over budget and realization rate slipping. I've spoken about realization before, and I'll put a link in the description so you know what I'm talking about and you can see the relevant video. I've seen this repeatedly. Each one is a warning sign, and if you're not watching for them in real time, you can't fix them. Traditional WIP reporting tells you what's already happened, but it doesn't tell you what's about to happen. Most WIP reports live in a spreadsheet, and you just review them once a month. But a manager then has to notice something is off before he or she can act. And that timing gap costs you money. Say you sold a project for 500 hours, and at 300 hours in, you should be about 60% complete. But instead, you're only 40% complete. By the time your month-end report catches that, your team's already done another 100 hours on the project. So you need something that tells you what's about to happen while you can still act upon it. Look, AI doesn't replace your systems. It sits on top of them and continuously monitors WIP instead of waiting for your monthly close. It reads your timesheets, your project budgets, your billing records, expenses, resource allocations, and historical project performance. It flags unusual patterns as they happen. For example, WIP growing faster than completion, senior staff spending more time than they should, sudden jumps in hours, delayed billing, time logged against spaces you already finished because you forgot to close them. You don't have to remember to check the dashboard because the system will immediately tell you when something needs your attention. There are 6 ways AI catches margin loss while the project is still running. The first is scope creep. AI compares your contracted scope against the work that's actually logged. It flags work that looks like it's falling outside the agreement. You can still decide if it's a real scope creep or reasonable. The second is overruns. AI compares the percentage of budget you spent against the percentage of work that's been finished. So if you use 70% of your hours, but you've only hit 50% of your milestones, that's a signal to act now, not wait till the month end. The third one is the resource mix. You can stay within your budget and still lose margin. Say your plan calls for 20% of a principal time, 30% of manager time, and 50% of consultant time. But if your actual mix shifts to 40% principal, 40% manager, and 20% consultant, your costs climb even though your total hours look fine. In my experience, resource mix drift is the margin killer that most teams miss. You might watch the total hours closely, but you rarely watch who's doing the work. The fourth is aging WIP. AI surfaces projects with unusual WIP build-up, work you haven't billed within the normal cycle, and aging patterns that don't match your history. The fifth one is forecasting margin and not just the current margin. Instead of reporting where you are today, AI updates your expected margin at the completion as the project runs. It factors in actual hours, remaining work, resource mix, and billing realization. That's a forward-looking number you can proactively influence. And finally, the sixth is prioritization. If you run 50 or even 500 projects, you can't give them all your attention. But AI can. It ranks projects by risk, so your team knows which ones to look at first. For example, your margin forecast falls from 32 to 21%. Senior hours are running at 45% above budget. Those are flags your team can act on. So 6 signals, 1 purpose. Catch the problem while you can still fix it.
Hey, real quick, if you're wondering where AI actually fits in your business, We actually offer a free consultation where we look at your current operations and identify the highest impact places to start. Look, there's no pitch, no pressure. The link's in the description.
AI WIP management is still developing quickly, so direct case studies on this exact use case are still hard to find. But there is evidence from our industry that points in the same direction. For example, Gregory FCA, which is the 36th largest PR firm in the US, ran a 12-month study after rolling out AI across the firm. They found that productivity jumped by 10.2%, and that's worth $2 million in extra revenue. Client churn dropped by 31%, and employee attrition fell by 54%. Those are impressive numbers. A 300-person professional services firm worked with a consulting group to build a tool for drafting client proposals. The turnaround time fell by 60%, and the firm saved about 12 hours of senior consultant time every week. Again, that's proposal work and not WIP monitoring, but it's a good indicator. So neither study measured WIP directly, but both show the same pattern. Firms catch problems and free up capacity faster when AI watches the work as it happens. Picture a fixed-fee consulting engagement. You price it $100,000 with a planned cost of $65,000. You expect the margin of 35% or $35,000. You built the plan around 500 hours. Now the client calls you at the halfway mark. Your team has used 325 of the 500 hours. So let's do your math. That's 65% of your hours gone, but your project is only 50% complete. So you've burned through more hours than you've delivered work, but you notice that the actual cost so far is $46,000. If you divide the $46,000 by the 325 hours, you see that your real cost rate is $141.50 an hour, but your plan assumed $130 an hour. Senior staff is running the 40% over budget is a big part why that rate climbed. So here's the forecast. At this pace, finishing the other 50% is going to take you another 325 hours. That's 650 hours total against a 500-hour budget. At $141.50 an hour, your total cost climbs to $92,000. Your margin drops from your planned 35% down to 8%, which is 92 minus 100, or 100 minus 92, should I say. And that forecast doesn't even account for everything, because you still have WIP of 15,000 sitting in unbilled, and your client has asked for extra deliverables you haven't priced. Both of those make the real picture even worse than 8%. Traditional reporting never gets you there. It shows you the cost incurred and the WIP generated, and that's it. It doesn't run the pace forward and show you where you're headed. With this in hand, you can issue a change order, you can adjust the staffing, you can revise scope, and you can step in with your project manager directly while you still have a project worth saving. AI is good at analyzing large volumes of data, spotting patterns, and forecasting outcomes. Your people still own the rest. They interpret the context, they negotiate the scope, they manage the client relationship, they approve write-offs, they make the commercial call. AI gives you the warning, you still have to make the call, and while you have the time to protect the margin. Look, you probably don't need a new ERP to start. Fix your processes first. Get your timesheets in on time. Build real budgets. Keep your project statuses current. Then connect your data and link your systems so they can talk to each other. You don't have to start with full automation. You can just start with alerts. Pick one use case, identify 5 projects at risk of margin erosion, then measure whether it's working. Track your write-offs, forecast accuracy, and aging of the WIP over time. You likely have enough data in your existing systems to build this without having to buy new software. But there is one caveat. If your project time and billing data is scattered or unreliable, AI will struggle no matter what you buy. So fix your processes first, and then pick the technology second. Your traditional model is record, report, investigate, and explain, all after the fact. Your AI-enabled model is monitor, predict, alert, intervene while you still have time to act. If you want to know where your business stands on this, you can take our AI Business Readiness quiz. The link's below. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe.